Hello friends, I'm Shantanu, your coach, and now we are starting chapter number 25 of GST lecture series, and here we are going to cover the GST Compensation to States Act 2017. First, let's see the introduction. The name of the act is Goods and Service Tax Compensation to States Act 2017. It is applicable to whole of India. It means it extends to whole of India, and it is effective from 1st of July 2017. There are only 14 sections in it, and there is one schedule. So this is a very small act, but from exam point of view, it is important because question can be asked from this act. Now first we will try to understand the object of this act. So object is to provide the compensation to the states. अब यहाँ पर ये आप पॉइंट अच्छे से समझ लीजिए, because if you are able to understand the object, then only you will be able to understand the whole act. There are two types of government in India. One is central government and another is a state government. Apart from that, there are certain union territories also which are mentioned here, and union territories are administered by administrator. So there are three parties, you can say, involved here, and the compensation will be given to states. When we say states, it means the state government as well as in union territories also covered in this. Now, the next thing you have to know is compensation for what? Why compensation will be paid? So compensation will be for the loss of revenue which may arise on account of implementation of the GST laws in India. So this very point is very important for you to understand, that before application of GST, before GST was applicable, there were some existing law which were in force, like there was excise, there was VAT, that is for the sales tax, CST was there, and there were so many other taxes also. I am just naming like A, B, C, D. Apart from this, there was one more major tax, that was the service tax levied by the central government or union. Now, as you are aware that these types of taxes earn the huge revenue for the government. Some revenue goes to the central government, whereas some revenue goes to the state government. So the major tax from which the state government used to earn was the VAT, that was the sales tax, that is the local sales tax. Apart from this, state government also used to earn some revenue from the excise on certain product on which the tax was levied by the certain products means certain goods on which the tax was levied by the state government. So state government used to earn revenue from excise also. Then CST, that is central sales tax, also the revenue was shared with the state government. Apart from this, there were certain other taxes also, like entertainment tax, octroi, and so many other taxes which were levied by the state government within the state. And the state government used to earn the revenue out of it. So now, as you are aware that there are so many of these taxes and duties which have been subsumed by the GST. That means it has been replaced by a single tax structure that is called GST. And due to implementation of this GST, which has replaced so many taxes and duties, there may be a chance that the state government may lose some revenue which the state government used to earn before application of GST. For example, there was one state government which used to earn revenue from all these taxes which has been replaced by GST to the tune of let's say 1 lakh crore rupees during any one financial year. Now there are chances that this state government may not earn this much revenue in a financial year after implementation of GST. So after implementation of GST, there will be SGST that will be levied by the state government, and UTGST also, which will be levied by the union territories. So after the implementation, if the state government is earning less revenue, let's say 90,000 crore rupees only earned by the state government after the implementation of the GST in the first year of implementation, then there will be a loss to such state government. And this loss will be compensated under this act by the central government. Now, another question which you have to remember that how long central government will keep on compensating these loss to the state government. So, Act says that for the 5 year after the implementation, that is up to 5 financial year after the implementation of GST, the central government will compensate to the state government for any loss which arises to the state government due to implementation of GST. Now, another question is there, how the central government will compensate the losses to the state government. It means from where the central government earn revenue to compensate such losses to the state government. So, this act prescribes that cess can be levied by the central government under this act to compensate the losses which arises to the state government. Now here you should know the difference between cess and tax. Cess is a special tax which is levied for some special purpose. So whatever revenue arises from cess, it will be utilized for specific purpose only. For example, in this case, whatever revenue earned from the cess, it will be applied for compensating the loss to the state government. The government cannot utilize this cess collected for any other purpose. On the other hand, whatever revenue earned by the government by levying the tax, such revenue earned by such government can be utilized for any purpose by the government which collected such tax. So this is the major difference between cess and the tax. So now this is also clear that whatever loss which will accrue to the state government, it will be compensated by the central government by levying the cess on certain products. So cess will not be levied on all the products. On certain products, it will be levied which are mentioned under the schedule of this act. Another important thing which you have to remember that, as you are aware, there is a inflation, concept of inflation. Means the revenue should keep on increasing. So if the state government has earned 1 lakh crore rupees in one financial year, then by default we can assume that the state government should earn more revenue in the next financial year, and then after that and after that. For next 5 years, this revenue should keep on increasing. For this, there is a concept of a revenue growth rate which is prescribed as 14%. So in this act, it is assumed that if the government is earning 1 lakh crore rupees in the base year. So base year, you should remember, the base year for the purpose of this act will be the financial year which is ending on 31st of March 2016. So it means the financial year 15-16 will be the base year to calculate the projected revenue by applying the projected growth rate. So projected growth rate is 14%. So if a state government has earned a revenue in financial year 15 and 16 to the tune of 1 lakh crore rupees, then in financial year 16-17, its projected revenue should be 1,14,000 crores. Now, how to calculate this projected revenue, we will see in our detailed lecture when we will go into the details of this act. So, for calculating the loss of revenue, one must see the projected revenue of the state government in a particular financial year, and then the actual revenue of that state government in that particular year. And by subtracting the actual revenue from the projected revenue for that financial year, the loss can be calculated for that particular year to that state government. And such loss will be compensated by the central government by levying the cess on certain products which are mentioned in schedule. Now look at the sections which are mentioned or which are covered under this act. So as I have already said, there are total 14 sections. It's a very small act, and we are going to see all the provision one by one later on, but first we will see the sections. So section 1 is short title extent commencement, which we have already seen. Now comes section 2, which contains the definition of some important terms, and question can be asked on this also. Section 3 talks about the projected growth rate, 4 talks about the base year, 5 talks about the base year revenue, and 6 talks about the projected revenue for any particular year. Section 7 talks about the calculation and the release of compensation by the central government to the state government for loss of revenue. Section 8 talks about levy and collection of cess, how the cess will be levied and collected by the center. Section 9 talks about return, payments and refunds. Section 10 talks about the crediting proceeds of cess to a particular fund, that is the compensation fund. Then section 11 talks about other provisions relating to cess. Section 12 talks about power to make rule. This is a general section. Then section 13 is also general, like laying of rules before the parliament if any rule is made for this act. And section 14 talks about power to remove difficulties. So now, as I have already mentioned, that this act is important from exam point of view, and question can be asked. So all the provision now we are going to discuss in our detailed lecture, so that you will be able to prepare well for this act. Now first let's see the background of the GST Compensation to States Act 2017. Whatever dates we are going to discuss here, these are important from exam point of view. So GST Council in 10th meeting held on 18 February 2017 approved the draft bill of GST Compensation to State Act that provide for compensation of loss arising out of introduction of GST in India. As we have already seen that whatever loss arises to the states, that will be compensated by the central government, but there is a limit. So whatever losses state government incur for a period of 5 years, those losses will be compensated by the central government to states. So there is a limit to compensate the losses to the states, that is only for 5 years, that is the first 5 years from the implementation of this act. Whatever losses which arises to the state, it will be compensated by the center. Now Union government presented this bill 2017, which was approved by GST Council, in Lok Sabha on 27th of March. Lok Sabha passed this bill on 29th of March, and the Rajya Sabha has passed this bill on 6th of April. And finally, it got the assent of the President on 12th April 2017. So you can say that this bill became the act on 12th of April 2017 when it got the assent of the President. Now let's see the salient feature of this Compensation Act. This acts provide for the manner of ascertaining the amount of compensation which will be payable to the state during the transition period of 5 years. This compensation will be paid by the center This act involved following major points. First, ascertaining the base year, identifying the revenue of the base year of the states, projected revenue of each state for the transition period, that is for 5 years, and the computation of the compensation and the release of compensation. These are the major provisions under this act. And as we have already seen that this compensation shall be met out from a special compensation cess, for which the provision in relation to collection, payment, return, refunds have been provided in this compensation act. Now let's see the objectives of this act. As we have already seen, there is a base year, and the base year is a financial year ending on 31st March 2016, that is financial year 2015 and 16 is the base year. इसके ऊपर भी direct question आ सकता है, what is the base year under this act. This base year will be used for calculating the compensation amount which will be payable to the state. Further, the revenue to be compensated will consist of revenue from all the taxes that are levied by the state which are now to be subsumed under GST. So, whatever revenue the state government was earning from various taxes which have been replaced by the GST, so compensation will be in relation to only these taxes which have been subsumed by the GST and not all the taxes which state government was levying. And this loss will be paid to the state based on the audit conducted by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Further, the projected growth rate of revenue during the transition period shall be 14%. इसके ऊपर भी direct question आ सकता है exam में. The compensation shall be released bi-monthly on provisional basis. This is also important. Whatever compensation it will release to the state, it will be bi-monthly on provisional basis. So here bi-monthly means twice in a month, दो बार in the month or for every 2 months But remember, although the dictionary meaning of bi-month means twice in a month or in every 2 months, but for the purpose of calculating the compensation, this will be for every 2 months. That is, provisional compensation will be calculated for every 2 months period. So whatever the compensation which will be paid bi-monthly, it will be a provisional, that means temporary compensation. The final adjustment shall be made after getting the audited accounts of the year from the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. In case of 11 special categories of states which have been referred in Article 279A of the Constitution, the revenue foregone on account of exemption of tax granted by the state shall be counted towards the definition of revenue for the base year 2015-16 for calculating the compensation. This is also a very important point, that whatever tax exemptions which was granted in special category of state, those taxes will also be treated as a revenue of that state for the base year 2015 and 16. That means the revenue for these states will be calculated as if there was no special exemption given for special category of state. Another point says that the revenue of the state that were not credited to the consolidated funds of the state government but were directly collected by the mandi or municipality would also be included in the definition of revenue if these were subsumed in the GST. So it means there were few taxes which were directly collected by the municipalities which were existing in the state, and if these taxes levied by the municipality has also been subsumed by the GST, then the revenue earned by these taxes levied by mandi or municipality will also be included in the definition of revenue of the state. Another point, as we have already discussed, how the central will pay the compensation. So it says that to generate the revenue to compensate states for 5 years for losses suffered by the state due to the implementation of GST. Such revenue will be generated by levying a cess on such goods as recommended by the GST Council over and above the GST rates on that item. So all those items, as we have already seen, are listed in the schedule of this act. Once the GST Council recommend, the cess will be levied on such items, and that will be over and above the GST rate. The proceeds of the cess shall be credited to the fund that will be known as Goods and Service Tax Compensation Fund, and all the compensation payable to states as GST compensation shall be paid from the above mentioned fund. And if there is any balance in that fund which is left out after the payment of compensation after 5 years, shall be equally shared between the center and the states. Now let's see some of the important definitions which are mentioned under this act. The central tax means the central goods and service tax levied under Central GST Act. Then there is a important definition of cess. Cess means the GST compensation cess, that is the full name, GST compensation cess, which will be levied under Section 8 of this Act. Then the compensation here means an amount in the form of GST compensation as determined under Section 7 of this Act. And the term council means the GST Council, which is constituted under Article 279A of the Constitution. Then comes the definition of fund. Fund means the GST compensation fund, which is referred in Section 10. Then comes the most important definition, what I guess is the input tax. Input tax in relation to a taxable person means cess charge. तो यहाँ ध्यान से देख लीजिए, input tax is not GST as such, it is a cess which is charged on any supply of goods or services or both made to him. So it means if there is a person and this person has received any supply, suppose he has received any supply in the form of goods or services. Now you are already aware that he is supposed to pay the GST on such supply received by him. But again, if there is a cess also which is applicable on the supply of goods to him, then whatever cess he will pay on such receipt of goods or services, these will be treated, this cess will be treated as input tax under the Compensation Act. Further, they says that the input tax also means the cess charge on import of goods. So either he is receiving goods within India, or if he is importing goods and there is a cess which is charged on such import, then this will also be treated as input tax. And further, it will also include the cess payable on a reverse charge basis. So reverse charge basis, as we have already seen, when a recipient is supposed to pay the tax instead of the supplier, then in case if he is a recipient and he has paid a tax on a receipt of services or goods, then whatever cess paid by him to receive those goods or services will also be treated as input tax. So reverse charge concept we have already seen in our earlier lectures, so we are not discussing here again. Then there is an important definition of projected growth rate. It means the rate of growth which is projected for the transition period as per Section 3 of this act. So one thing is quite clear, that the projected growth rate will be calculated for the transition period, that is of 5 years, and this will be calculated as per section. Further, the definition of state is also given. State means for the purpose of section 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that is for section 3 to 7, the state means as defined under CGST Act. And for the purpose of section 8 to 12 of this act, state means state defined under central, as well as the union territory as defined under Union Territories GST Act. So it is a bit a technical definition. What you can understand here, up to section 3 to 7, the state means the state defined under central. But for section 8 to 14, the state means the state defined under CGST, as well as the union territories which are defined under Union Territories GST Act. For exam point of view, you should remember these sections and the definition. Then comes the state tax. State tax means the state GST which is levied and collected under respective state GST Act. Then comes the definition of taxable supply. It means the supply of goods or services or both which is chargeable to cess under this act. So for the purpose of this act, if any supply does not attract cess, it will not be treated as taxable supply, although the GST may be payable on such supply. Please remember that. If any supply on which cess is chargeable under this act, then only such supply will be treated as taxable supply. Then come the transition date. It means in respect of any state, the date on which the state GST Act of the concerned states comes into force. तो जब कभी भी किसी स्टेट का स्टेट GST Act applicable होता है, जिस दिन से applicable होता है, that date will be treated as transition date for that particular state. It means the different states may have the different transition date. Then comes the transition period. It means the period of 5 years from the transition date. So again, different states may have different transition period of 5 years, which will start from the date of coming into the force of that respective state act, that is the state GST Act. Now let's see the provision of base year. As we have already seen in earlier part also, that for the purpose of calculating the compensation amount which will be payable in any financial year during the transition period of 5 years, the base year will be the financial year ending on 31st March 2016. It means the financial year 15-16 will be treated as the base year. Now let's see the provision related to projected growth rate. Projected nominal growth rate of revenue subsumed for a state during the transition period. That is, they are talking about the taxes, the revenue generated by those taxes of the state government which have been subsumed by the GST, and how this revenue generated from these taxes will grow. That is, the projected growth rate is defined here, and the projected growth rate will be 14% per annum. This is very important point which can be asked in the exam, and let's check one example. If the base year is 15-16, that is financial year 15-16 for a concerned state, calculated as per section 5 is 100 rupees. इसका कहने का मतलब है कि 15-16 फाइनेंशियल ईयर में अगर किसी स्टेट का रेवेन्यू 100 रुपीस था, then the projected revenue for any financial year can be calculated with respect to this base year. For example, projected revenue for financial year 18 and 19 shall be calculated as follows. So first let's see 15-16, then comes 16-17, 17-18, and 18-19. So it is the third year, you can see. So how to calculate the projected growth rate for the financial year 18-19? The formula says that 100 into 1 plus 14 divided by 100 to the power 3. Why 3? Because it is the third year from the base year. If you want to calculate the revenue, that is the projected revenue for 17 and 18, then the power will be 2. And similarly for year 19-20, the raised to the power will become 4. तो यहाँ पर 3 की जगह जो पावर है वो 2 हो जाएगी फॉर्मूले में if it is 17-18 years. If you are calculating the projected revenue for 19-20, then it will be 4. That is, the power will be 4. Now, whatever is the revenue of the base year, here you have to write that. For example, we have taken the revenue of the base year for a state is 100. So it will come here and multiplied by 1 plus 14 divided by 100 raised to the power 3. इसका मतलब अगर आप इसको simplify करें तो it will be whatever is the revenue of the base year, this will be multiplied by 1.14 raised to the power. Now, what will be the power? It depends upon the distance of the concerned year from the base year. For example, for financial year 18-19, you can see there is a difference of 3 years. So, the power will become 3. And this can be asked in the exam. You can be given the revenue of the base year that you have to write here, and then you may be asked to calculate the projected revenue for any year. So you have to check how distant it is from the base year, and that will become the power of this, and you can calculate. So for example, if the revenue of the base year is 100 rupees for any state, and if you want to calculate the projected revenue for 18-19, then the power will be 3, and the projected revenue for 18-19 will be 148.1544. Now let's see how to calculate the base year revenue of the state government. It says that subject to the provision of subsection 2 to 6, the base year revenue for a state shall be the sum of revenue collected. This is a keyword, collected by the state and the local bodies during the base year. So base year, we are already aware it is financial year 15-16, on account of taxes levied by the respective state or union and net of refund. So whatever revenue you are calculating for financial year 15-16, that is base year, it should be net of refund, and it should be with respect to following taxes which are imposed by the respective state or union and which are subsumed into the GST. So first we are going to see the list of taxes which are subsumed by the GST and which will be taken into consideration for calculating the base year revenue. And after that, we will see the list of taxes or other items which should not be included in the base year revenue. So first, let's talk about the taxes which you have to consider to calculate the base year revenue. So first, they says the VAT, sales tax, purchase tax, tax collected on works contract. So all these taxes, whatever revenue generated by the state government for these taxes will come under the base year revenue, or now there is or any other tax levied by the concerned state under the entry 54 of list 2 of the 7th schedule to the constitution. Now these entries also you have to remember that any tax levied under these entry, whether it will be covered under base year revenue or not, if they set a tough question paper, then they can ask question relating to these entries also. So try to remember these entries also. We are going to see a lot of entries. So if any other tax levied under 54, then it will be covered under the base year. Then comes the CST, that is Central Sales Tax, levied under Central Sales Tax Act, will also come under the base year revenue. Then come the entry tax, octroi or local body tax, or any other tax levied by the state under the entry 52 of list 2 will also calculation of base year revenue. Then comes luxury tax, entertainment tax, amusement, betting and gambling tax, or any other tax levied by concerned state under entry 62 of list 2 will also come under base year revenue calculation. Then comes the advertisement tax or any other tax levied by concerned state under entry 55 of list 2. After this comes the duties of excise. But remember, all duties of excise will not come under this calculation. So all the central excise duty will not come, only those excise duties which are charged on medicinal and toilet preparation, which are levied by the union, although it is levied by the union, but are collected and retained by the concerned state government under Article 268 of the Constitution. So whenever it comes, whether excise duty will come under the base year revenue, only excise duty related to medicinal and toilet preparations will come under this base year calculation. Then comes any cess or surcharge or fees leviable under entry number 66. Read with entry 52, 54, 55, 62 of list 2 of the 7th schedule will also come under the base year revenue calculation. So you have to remember all these items, what will come under the base year revenue calculation. Now we are going to see what will not come under the base year revenue calculation. So following sums shall not be included in the revenue collected during the base year in a state net of refund in the calculation of base year revenue for that state. For example, any tax levied under any act as per entry 54 of list 2, that is the state list, which are related to sale or purchase of petroleum, crude, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, natural gas, aviation turbine fuel, alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Now this is very important because all these taxes which are levied on petrol, in short we can say all these items as a common petrol के ऊपर आज भी VAT लगता है. So there is these items have not come under the GST. So whatever tax revenue the state government was getting from petrol, tax on petrol in the form of VAT, this revenue will not come under the base year revenue calculation. Similarly, tax levied under Central Sales Tax, that is CST, again on all these such items like sale or purchase of petroleum, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, natural gas, aviation turbine fuel or alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So CST on these items will also not come under base year revenue. And similarly, any cess imposed by the state government on the sale or purchase of all these items will not come under the base year revenue calculation. Apart from this, the entertainment tax levied by the state but which was collected by the local bodies under any act enacted under entry 62 of list 2, that is the state list, will also not come under the base year revenue calculation. Now further you have to remember that the base year revenue shall include the amount of tax collected on sale of services by the said state government during the base year in respect of state of Jammu and Kashmir. So it is just like a clarification which have been given here. Although the Jammu Kashmir, this state has not passed their GST Act till now. So it's like a clarification. If the state government has earned some tax revenue by providing services to the Jammu and Kashmir state, then such tax collected by the state will be included in the base year revenue calculation. और इसके ऊपर भी एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. Further, you have to remember the states which have foregone their revenue, tax revenue on account of exemptions or a remission given by the said state government to promote the industrial investment in the state shall be included in the total base year revenue of the state, subject to such condition as may be prescribed. So, if the state government has given up its tax revenue on account of giving some exemption or remission to promote the industrial investment, so although it has foregone those revenue, it will be still, however, be considered for calculating the base year revenue. Now, further it says that the base year revenue shall be calculated as mentioned above. What we have seen, what will be included and what will not be included, and it should be on the basis of the figures of revenue collected and net of refund given in that year as audited by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So, whatever figures which will be included in the base year revenue calculation, it should be based on the audited documents, that is audited accounts and the audit should be done by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Now let's see how the GST compensation will be calculated and it will be paid to the state. The compensation payable to state shall be provisionally calculated. So first, provisional compensation will be calculated and released to the state at the end of every 2 months period. हर 2 महीने के पीरियड में कैलकुलेशन होगा प्रोविजनल कंपनसेशन का, and that will be paid to each state on provisional basis and shall be finally calculated for every financial year. तो पहले तो 2 months का कैलकुलेशन होगा प्रोविजनल कंपनसेशन का, and at the end of the year फाइनल कैलकुलेशन होगा कंपनसेशन का at the end of every financial year after the receipt of final figures, revenue figures, which have been audited by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. However, in case any excess amount, if has been released as a compensation to a state in any financial year during the transition period, as per the audited figures of revenue collected, such excess amount so released shall be adjusted against the compensation in the subsequent financial year. So, for example, if for the financial year, let's say 18 and 19, some state or one state has got excess of 1,000 crore of rupees of compensation. So, this excess compensation given to or released to the state will be adjusted in the next financial year, that is financial year 1920. So, this is also very important from exam point of view, that first thing you have to remember, the provisional compensation will be calculated and released at the end of every 2 months, and final calculation at the end of every financial year once the audited figures are available for that state. And if there is any excess which is released to a state, then it will be adjusted in the next financial year. Now, further you have to remember that the total compensation payable for any financial year during the transit period to any state shall be calculated in the following manner. So, there is very simple calculation. First, they say that the projected revenue for any financial year during the transition period will be calculated. Now, this projected revenue, as we have already seen, if there was no GST, then how much revenue the state could have earned in absence of this GST, that is what we call the projected revenue that the state could have earned in absence of GST, that will be calculated. So, first the projected revenue of the state will be calculated, and after doing that, the actual revenue collected by the concerned state will be calculated, and the difference of these will be treated as the compensation which is payable to the state. Now you have to remember that the actual revenue collected by the state for any financial year during the transition period shall be computed in following manner. So first, the actual revenue from state tax, that is they are talking about SGST जो भी लगेगा उससे कितना revenue आया है SGST से, that will be calculated SGST से revenue. Then the integrated GST tax which is apportioned to that state. So as you are already aware कि if there is a transaction between two states, then it will come under IGST. And IGST will be apportioned to different states. So whatever integrated goods and service tax portion is apportioned to this state on proportionate basis, that will also be added here, the proportionate basis of IGST Act. And any collection of tax, apart from this, any other collection of tax on account of tax levied by the state under subsection 4 of section 5 net of refund of such taxes, which is certified by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So any other tax also, if the government has received, state government, that will also be added. So this is how the actual revenue for that year will be calculated. So in this example, we can see, suppose the projected revenue was, let's say, 1000 crore. But actual revenue is only 800 crores, so it means there is a loss of revenue to the government of 200 crore, and this 200 crore should be payable to that state as a compensation. Now, loss of revenue, how it will be calculated? They further explain this, that the loss of revenue at the end of every 2 months period in any year for a state during the transition period shall be calculated at the end of said period in the following manner. So whatever we have seen for 1 year calculation, that is, first you have to calculate the projected revenue for the year. So here for 2 months you have to calculate the projected revenue for the 2 months, and then actual revenue you have to deduct, and whatever is the difference, that will be the compensation payable. So the simple proportionate calculation can be done in this case as what we have done for yearly basis. For example, if the projected revenue for any year which is calculated as per section 6 is 100 rupees, मान लीजिए 100 rupees is the projected revenue for one financial year. So it is for financial year. Then for calculating the projected revenue that could have been earned till the end of the period of 10 months, यानी यहाँ से लेके 10 months के end तक कितना revenue इस state government ने earn किया होगा, how much it could have earned by the end of the 10 months. So it is very simple mathematical calculation, that is 100 rupees is the yearly projected revenue. So for 10 months means this is 10 months divided by 12 months, because 1 year contains 12 months. So this will give you 83.33 rupees as the projected revenue the state could have earned after the end of 10 months period. Similarly, actual revenue collected by the state till the end of 2 months period in any financial year during the transition period shall be calculated the same manner. First you have to see the SGST component, SGST collected net of refunds. Then the proportion of integrated GST which states get from the center as a proportion, that will be added. However, this integrated GST what actually have received by the state, it should have been certified by Principal Chief Controller of Accounts of CBEC, that is Central Board of Excise and Custom. And then any other tax as levied by the state net of refund of tax, that also be added. Then finally, the provisional compensation payable to any state at the end of relevant 2 months period in any financial year will be calculated as the difference between the projected revenue till the end of relevant period and the actual revenue collected by a state during that So for example, the projected revenue was, let's say, 1000 crore, same example we can take. And the actual revenue was, let's say, 800 crore rupees. So the difference is coming 200 crore now. And this 200 crore difference should be reduced by the provisional compensation paid to the state till the end of previous 2 months period in the said financial year. So for example, till the end of the relevant period, it may be end of 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. So at the end of this period, suppose the compensation already received, the provisional compensation already received by the state is 120 crores. So the difference now you have to take, that is whatever difference comes, that is projected revenue and actual revenue. First you have to take the difference. It should be reduced by the compensation already paid to the state till the relevant period. And then you will get the final figure, let's say 80 crores. This is the final figure. This 80 crore should be released to the state. Further, they say in case of any difference between the final compensation amount which is payable to the state on the basis of audited figure. So final compensation will always be calculated on the basis of audited revenue figures as audited by the Comptroller Auditor General of India. And the difference between the final compensation and the total provisional compensation which have been released to the state, and this difference shall be adjusted against the release of compensation to the state in the subsequent financial year. So as we have already seen, if any excess amount has been released to any state, that excess will be adjusted in the subsequent financial year. Now in fifth point, they says where no compensation is due to be released in any financial year, and in case of any excess amount has been released, तो कोई compensation देना नहीं था, still the provisional they might have given, or they might have, that is the central government might have given the excess compensation to any particular state. In both these cases, such amount which the state has received should be refunded by the state. So state government should refund such excess or provisional amount to the central government, and that amount will be credited to the fund in such a manner as may be prescribed. So here the term fund means the compensation fund which will be created under this act. So this amount will be credited to that fund. Now let's see how the compensation cess will be levied under this act. So it says that the cess will be levied first on the intrastate supply as well as on interstate supply. So intrastate supply means supply within the state. It will be levied as we levy the CGST as per section 9 of the Central Goods and Service Tax Act. Similarly, the cess will be applicable on interstate supply also, as it levied as per section 5 of the Integrated GST Act. And in both these cases, the cess will be collected in such a manner as may be prescribed on the recommendation of the council. So you might have noticed the role of GST council is very important. The central government so many things cannot do at its own. There should be always a recommendation by the GST council, and then on the basis of that recommendation, the central government should act. Further, they says that there should be no such cess. This is very important point, can be asked in the exam. There should be no such cess will be levied on supply which is made by a taxable person who has decided to opt for composition levy scheme under section 10 of the central GST. So as you are already aware, the composition levy may lump sum payment of tax is made by the person, taxable person who opt for the composition levy scheme. So if the person, taxable person, comes under the composition levy, then there will be no cess applicable on such taxable person, whatever he supplies. Another important thing which you have to remember, that cess will not be applicable on all the goods and services, supply of all the goods and services. The cess will be applicable only on certain supplies only. So the cess shall be levied on such supply of goods and services which are specified in column 2 of the schedule. Schedule is given towards the end of this lecture. Further, you have to remember that certain supplies of goods which are specified in column 2 of the schedule, and the cess will be levied on the basis of value, quantity, or on such basis and at such rate not exceeding the rate which are given in the column 4 of the schedule. So two things are very clear. Column 2 contains the list of items on which cess can be applied, that is, cess can be levied, and column 4 of the schedule contains the maximum rate by which cess can be collected. So, for example, if we see one example of the schedule, the first item mentioned is pan masala. Wherever the government wants to earn more revenue through tax, pan masala is the first item to be targeted by the government. So here also for cess, pan masala is the first item which is mentioned in the schedule, on which, that is on the supply of pan masala, cess can be levied. And what will be the rate at which the cess will be levied on this item is given in the column 4. It says that 135% ad valorem. Now, ad valorem means on the value, that is not on the quantity, that is kg or tons, but it should be levied on the value, and it will be 135%. Further, you have to remember this cess on the value. Value means whatever is the taxable value. That is, suppose you have sold the pan masala for, let's say, 1000 rupees, then the GST first will be applicable. And on this GST, 135% of this GST which is chargeable on this supply of pan masala, you have to calculate the cess and should be collected by the taxable person who is supplying this pan masala. Further, they says that in case when the cess is chargeable on any supply of goods or services with reference to their value, for each such supply, the value shall be determined as per section 15 of CGST Act for all intrastate and interstate supply of goods or services or both. Now, let's see the cess on goods imported into India. It says there is a slightly different procedure for cess levied on imported goods. It says that cess on goods imported into India shall be levied and collected in accordance with the provision of section 3 of the Custom Tariff Act 1975. So this is very important point. You have to remember that although the integrated GST is applicable on all the imported goods, but as far as cess is concerned on the goods imported, the cess will be calculated, levied and collected in the manner as provided under section 3 of Custom Tariff Act 1975. That is, Custom Act will be applicable at the point when duties of customs are levied on said goods under section 12 of the Custom Act. So whenever custom duty is levied and collected on the imported goods, at the same time this cess will also be collected on such imported goods, and that will be on the value determined under the Custom Tariff Act 1975. So this is also very important point regarding the cess on goods imported into India, which you have to remember. The cess will be levied and collected on goods imported as per the Custom Act. Now let's talk about the liability of taxable person. As usual, whenever the cess will be applicable, it is the liability of taxable person to pay such a cess which is payable under this act. and should also furnish such return in such forms along with the return to be filed under CGST as may be prescribed, and also apply for refund of such said paid in such form as may be prescribed. It means if there is a refund due of such cess, whatever he has paid, so he can apply for such refund of such cess also in such form as may be prescribed. Further, they says that for all the purposes of furnishing of return and claiming the refund, except for the form to be filed. So, form will be prescribed under the Compensation Act only. As for other than forms, all the procedures, provisions which are applicable for returns and refund for GST under the CGST Acts and rules made for that purpose shall, as far as applicable, will apply in relation to levy and collection of cess which is levied under Section 8 on all taxable supply of goods or services as they apply in relation to levy and collection of central tax on such supply. Now let's talk about the compensation fund, as we have already seen this word that compensation fund will be created as per this Act. So this fund is created and the proceed of the cess and such other amount as may be recommended by the council shall be credited to non-lapsable fund known as goods and service tax compensation fund. तो इस fund का नाम है GST compensation fund, which shall form part of public account of India. These are keywords which you have to remember. It will be a part of public account of India and shall be utilized for the purpose which are specified in the said section. यानी इसका specific purpose है इस fund को use करने का. The government cannot use this fund for any other purpose. So all amounts payable to state under section 7 shall be paid out of this fund. The 50% of the amount remaining unutilized in the fund. तो ये जो fund बना है at the end of transition period, suppose some fund has some balance, the 50% of the balance will go to the center and remaining 50% will be distributed amongst the different state. So they say that 50% amount remaining unutilized in the fund at the end of the transition period, not every year. Transition period खत्म होने के बाद whatever balance remains, 50% of that shall be transferred to the consolidated fund of India as the share of the center. ये भी याद रखना है keyword, in which fund it will be transferred. So consolidated fund of India, in this it will be transferred. And the balance 50% shall be distributed among the state in the ratio of their total revenue from the state tax or the union territory GST, as the case may be, in the last year of transition period. So this is also very important from point from exam point of view, that is the balance 50% will be distributed to state, no doubt about that. State means states as well as the union territories. But in what ratio? So they have mentioned the ratio will be the total revenue from the state tax and union territory tax. So they are talking about SGST or UTGST, as the case may be, in the last year of transition period. So whatever 5 years is the transition period, so last year of transition period you have to check the tax collected by each state or union territory in the form of SGST and UTGST, and in that ratio only this 50% balance will be credited to each state and union territory. Now let's talk about the audit of fund, because huge amount will be received in this fund and distributed out of this fund. So there is a need of audit. So account relating to fund shall be audited by the Comptroller and Auditor General India, that is the highest audit authority for government audits, or any person appointed by him. So even CAG may appoint any other person who can conduct the audit of the fund at such interval as may be specified by him. So interval will be decided, audit interval will be decided by the CAG, and any expenditure in connection with such audit, जो कुछ भी खर्चा होता है for this audit, it will be payable by the central government to the CAG. And finally, they say the accounts of the fund as certified by the CAG or any other person appointed by CAG with the audit report thereon shall be laid before each house of parliament. Now further you have to remember that there are lots of provisions of CGST Act, that is Central Goods and Service Tax Act, will apply in. There are so many points on which CGST Act will apply. It says that provision of CGST Act and the integrated GST Act and the rules made thereunder, including those relating to assessment, input tax credit, non-levy, short levy, interest, appeal, offence, penalty, shall as far as apply to those under those act mutatis mutandis apply in relation to levy collection cess leviable under 8 on the intrastate supply as they apply in relation to levy collection of central and integrated tax on such intrastate supply under the said act or the rules made thereunder. So in short, there are so many provisions for these items which are contained framed under CGST. So to avoid the duplication work and complexity, they have just said that there are so many provisions of CGST and IGST will apply mutatis mutandis, that is as they apply there, they will be applicable here on all the following matters. Provided that the input tax credit, there is a very important point, they say input tax credit in respect of cess on supply of goods and services which is levied under 8 shall be utilized only towards the payment of said cess on supply of goods and services leviable under said section. So input tax credit under this act, as you are aware, it is a cess which is paid by the receiver of the goods or services along with the GST. If he has paid any cess also, he can utilize it as input tax credit, but he can utilize this input tax credit only towards the payment of cess liability only. So he can discharge only cess liability with this input tax credit. He cannot utilize it for other CGST, that is the central GST or SGST or UTGST. This is also a very important point which you have to remember. And finally, there is a power to make rules for this act is also given. So the central government on recommendation of the council, again, even if the rules need to be framed by the central, it should be framed by the central government on the recommendation of the council by way of notification. So it can make rules to carry out the provisions of this act. And the rules may provide for all or any of the following matters. First, conditions regarding the total base year revenue of the state. Then condition subject to which any part of the revenue not credited to the consolidated fund. Then the manner of refund of compensation by the state to the central government. Then the manner of levy and collection of cess. Then the manner and the forms for payment of cess, furnishing of return. Then refund of cess under subsection 1 of section 9. And any other matter which is to be or as may be prescribed in respect of which provision is to be made by the rules, the central government may make the rules under recommendation of GST Council.